What's up, Warriors fans, and welcome to Warriors Latest. I am your host, Max Arizin. As always, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell if you like what you hear, as I do post new Warriors videos daily. Now, we did get some interesting news in the last day or so. Not so much trade rumors, but something I like to see. And that big thing is that Draymond and Jimmy were seen working out. Now, you could just put this as something that is just something, it's a passerby thing, something not really to be noticed. But for a diehard Warriors fan, you look at this and say, okay, something's cooking more than it usually is. Because I think back to the beginning of the dynasty, and one of the major sticking points to the Warriors' initial dynasty with the same roster that they had from previous years, and then just making a few maneuvers to becoming that powerhouse that they were for a good 2 years from 14 to 16, was that a lot of the guys really gelled together. And by gelled together, I mean there was a lot of chemistry. And with that chemistry, you think back to those teams with the original Warriors. The only change on those teams was switching Draymond out for David Lee. Now, I think the main source of that success was the chemistry that they had. And seeing Draymond and Jimmy work out together, it just shows that even during the offseason, these stars are after the same thing. They're here to win a championship. We look at the Warriors team when it came into the playoffs. They were one of the best teams after Jimmy was acquired, going 23-8. So I like that they're really, really working together and making an effort during the offseason, regardless of what's going on in terms of roster move, regardless of the Kuminga situation, regardless of no signings being made. They're going into the offseason expecting good things to happen on the roster and for them to overall get better and build more chemistry as a team as they chase that next title. Now, one of the things I talk about, at least when it comes to championship rosters overall, and that's not just with the Warriors, but it's with all championship teams, and is synergy. Now, when you win a championship, or in order to win a championship, you need synergy, and that goes from synergy from ownership to the president of the team, whoever that may be, from the president to the general manager, whoever that may be, from the general manager to the head coach, whoever that may be, and then from the coach to their players, whoever is on the roster. Now, to build that synergy, you have to spend a lot of time together. Now, back in the early days of the dynasty, one of the things that the Warriors like to do to sort of stick together was these team dinners, and they would spend a lot of time with each other in the offseason. Now, in recent years, we haven't really seen a lot of that. We haven't seen players working out in the offseason, at least with the same team. We see players just do fun things together, but not so much actually working out, getting better together, and trying to find ways where we can, I guess, work each other out and learn each other's game. Now, we saw when Jimmy was acquired, he did have a hand-in-glove fit, but let's make that hand-in-glove fit even better going into this season. That's what I like about Jimmy and Draymond working out together. Now, that synergy is going to play well at the start of the season because, let's be honest, even if the Warriors even if they sign Malcolm Brogdon, they sign Seth Curry, they find a place for Jonathan Kuminga, they bring in a Al Horford, they bring in a Thomas Bryant, they bring in all these guys. If the core doesn't have that major synergy that they need, and they don't get off to that hot start, and I don't see them as a good championship contender because they have to be hot out of the gate. They got to win, let's say, 7 out of their first 10. And going 7-3 to start, big ups for the Warriors, keeps them in that top 6 where they're not a play-in team. And hopefully they can build on that momentum. And I think with Draymond and Jimmy working out, hopefully Steph comes to some of those workouts as well. I see that as a very good sign, and I want to continue to see that up until training camp because we don't know how often they have been working out together. For all we know, it could be all summer. We've been distracted by the fact that Jonathan Kuminga has not signed an extension or his qualifying offer, and the Warriors really haven't made any moves so far yet this offseason. So, if they're working together continuously and they have been working together, it's a good sign, and I really like it. So let's hope that they are working out together continuously. Let's hope they've built a lot of chemistry and camaraderie that I guess they had at the beginning of had during the season last year, but weren't able to really solidify it into understanding what each other like to do during the playoffs and how each player can facilitate the other to maximize their abilities. So let's hope it continues and sort of bleeds into training camp. Because if that energy bleeds into training camp, a lot of the other guys on the roster, whether they aren't on it right now and then get signed, or just younger guys that are on Exhibit 10 contracts, can really absorb that energy and find ways to be useful in their own careers, whether that be with the Warriors or whether that be with Santa Cruz or another team. So I'm happy about that. Let's keep it going because training camp is right around the corner. But speaking of training camp, guess who was spotted in Miami? And it was none other than Jonathan Kuminga. Now, I think about that, and he's working out in Miami. He's a restricted free agent. He is allowed to, but I feel like he's just doing it, maybe a slow news day type of thing that people are reporting on it. But I get the sense he's trying to figure out a way to become a part of the Miami Heat. Now, I look at any trade involving the likes of the Heat and the Warriors, and I don't see how it would work out in terms of just like getting fair value for Jonathan Kuminga. But they do have some guys that they could just throw the Warriors' way and then work it out from there. Now, the biggest guy I could think of is Terry Rozier, and that's just a bad idea. However, like I love to say, financial flexibility in today's NBA is probably the most important thing. And Scary Terry has an expiring contract. You could also look at, say, Andrew Wiggins, bringing him back, or even, Kyle Anderson isn't there anymore, but those two guys you could think of in a trade, maybe a draft pick or maybe Jamie Jaquez, but I don't see them trading either of those guys, or Jamie Jaquez or Nikolai Jokic. Yeah, I believe that's his name. No, Jokic. Yeah, okay, yeah, that is his name. The young player who's 6'10", bit of a stretch for the Miami Heat. But I don't see the Heat or specifically Pat Riley, really giving up on any of his young players unless he's getting a good return. And yes, you may be able to extract a first-round pick from Pat Riley because he doesn't particularly care about his first-round picks. He knows the guys he's going to get that are going to be successful are going to be those later first-round picks, or they're going to be guys that you get off of free agency and just bring them to Miami. He's done it in the past with LeBron, Chris Bosh. He did it with Jimmy. He did it with Alonzo Mourning and Tim Hardaway. So we've seen it happen time and time again. That's just how Miami operates. So it is a possibility of getting a good return for Jonathan Kuminga, but we don't know if it's going to be Miami since the start of the season's right around the corner. Training camp is just very short, like a few weeks away. And I just don't see Pat Riley, unless he's getting fair value, making a deal for Jonathan Kuminga, even though he may be hanging out and spending a lot of time in Miami to, I guess, get a little bit of attention. So that remains to be seen regarding the Kuminga situation. Again, we do know that the Warriors are going to pull that 2-year deal in a few weeks, and he's going to be forced to sign the qualifying offer. So we know that at the very least, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to send Kuminga to Miami if we can get something good back in return. Now, bottom line is Draymond and Jimmy, as I said, working out together, great sign. They're creating that synergy that every great title team needs in order to win. Now, when you got guys that are playing like not only a team but like a family, those teams are hard to beat. And Draymond and Jimmy working out together. Hopefully, Steph has been in there as well. And just that core group of guys working out together is a good sign because, like I said, in previous iterations, even back to 2022, they pretty much had, outside of Klay Thompson during that 21-22 run, they had the exact same roster as the year before. Maybe a few alterations, like outside of Klay Thompson, but that was just it. It was the same team, but because they had that built-in synergy, they were able to win and then fire on all cylinders. And the one thing I keep seeing over and over and over again, at least from the Warriors throughout the dynasty, is when they're playing full synergy, they're impossible to beat. Like when they're playing on with synergy, they're playing on all cylinders. They're toying with teams. It's very hard for whether it be a bad team or a good team, to get the better of these Warriors. Now, should that be the case this time? That remains to be seen. But my gut is telling me that this working out together, this heading into training camp with the same mindset, is going to bode well for this Warriors team. Now, that's all we have for today for Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like what you heard today. And if you have any other ideas of what the Warriors need to do in order to solidify that synergy going into training camp and the start of the season, feel free to comment below, as I love to hear your ideas. And as always, go Dubs.